Happy Monday, D-Team. Got a email this week that was really interesting, has me thinking. I thought it would have you thinking as well. It's from my friend Kevin, and he said, hey, Micah, the way that I'm seeing some of this stuff presented, I'm watching the videos, right? But the way I'm seeing this presented, it feels like every individual, it's our job to sow and to cultivate and to harvest. Every individual has to own this process from beginning to end. While other teachers would say, he says, some sow, others cultivate, others reap the harvest. Every individual is part of a larger process. How are we supposed to do this, right? And I thought that was a great question, and it's worth kind of a video on its own. So if you got something that that is your process in the videos that comes up, you think, man, I need to get into that, don't hesitate to shoot me an email and let's talk about it. But this is good. Kevin's very tactful. He's like, others would say, specifically, he's quoting from the Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians 3, right? In 1 Corinthians 3, you guys know this, Paul is in a situation where he's writing to the Corinthian church, and the Corinthian church is very divided. They have a celebrity culture, right? And so you've got people in the church that have they all have their favorite guy that they follow, and so they're really divided. Even though the people that they're following are not necessarily divided, but they're divided, right? And so Paul kind of lays into them pretty hard in 1 Corinthians 3. He says, you are still worldly. Are you not acting like mere men? For when one says, I follow Paul, and another says, I follow Apollos, are you not mere men? What after all is Apollos, and what is Paul? Only servants through whom you came to believe, as the Lord has assigned to each his task. I planted the seed, Apollos watered it, but God made it grow. So neither he who plants nor he who waters is anything, but only God who makes things grow. The man who plants and the man who waters have one purpose, and each will be rewarded according to his own labor. For we are God's fellow workers, and you are God's field, God's building. And so then he goes on, and he uses the building analogy, and it says basically the same thing. And so I want to give you a way to think about the work of disciple making, of making disciples of all nations, baptizing them and teaching them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Here's a way to think about it, right? A way to think about it is that, just like Paul says, that what we can do, that each of us is going to have a specific goal at a specific time to do a specific thing, right? And so Paul says, look, I planted this seed, Apollos watered it, but God made it grow. Like each of us has our own part that we're playing. And then the thing that naturally leads out of this is if you look later on in 1 Corinthians, right? 1 Corinthians 12, Paul says this. He says, now the body is not made up of one part, but of many. If the foot should say, because I'm not a hand, I don't belong to the body, it would not for that reason cease to be part of the body. And if the ear should say, because I'm not an eye, I don't belong to the body, it would not cease to be part of the body. If the whole body were an eye, where would the sense of hearing be? If the whole body were an ear, where would the sense of smell be? But in fact, God has arranged the parts of the body, every one of them, just as he wanted them to be. If they were all one part, where would the body be? As it is, there are many parts, but one body. The eye can't say to the hand, I don't need you, and the head can't say to the feet, I don't need you. All the parts work together, all right? And so there's these two different passages at the front and end of the letter to the Corinthians are nevertheless still kind of tied into the same idea, and that is all of us have a part. Now, here's what I don't want you to do, all right? So I've already told you, I'm going to tell you what I do. Let me tell you what I don't want you to do first. I am a big fan of thinking in terms of spiritual gifts. In fact, this part of 1 Corinthians is leading into the conversation about spiritual gifts. And I'm a big fan of this type of thinking. Here's what I'm not a big fan of. Christians a lot of times will say, oh, this thing isn't my gift, and so I don't want to do that, right? So, hey, some people are like, they have the gift of evangelism, so they can share their faith, but I don't have the gift of evangelism, so that's not me, right? Some people have the gift of giving, but I don't have that. That's not my gift. Some people have this gift of mercy, but I'm not really a merciful. I don't want to be a merciful person. Some people have the gift of hospitality, but that's not really a gift that I have. Here's the thing. It is not the spiritual gifts that when we tend to look at spiritual gifts, they are not licensed to do or not do a specific thing, all right? So whether or not you have the, quote, spiritual gift of evangelism has no bearing on whether or not you are supposed to be sharing your faith, right? What it means is that in certain areas of your life, you are likely to get a supernatural return on your investment, right? And so that's really, I mean, without getting too deep into a theology of spiritual gifts, that's what the idea of spiritual gifts is. Not, hey, only do the things you're good at, but rather look at your life and recognize that there's some areas of your life where you go, man, there's no way I'm good enough to do that. Like that has to be the power of God. That's what makes it supernatural, as just opposed to some kind of a natural thing that you're good at. So when we think about sowing and harvesting and reaping, understand that it's probably not going to be the case that you're going to be the person who sows the seed, who plants it, who weeds, who reaps a harvest. Like, it's probably not going to be you all the way through. If you look at the people if you look at your own life, right? Just don't even think about other people. Just think about yourself. It's the only time I'm going to say that. Just think about yourself. If you look at your own life, you probably had people that were instrumental in helping you first come to faith. Then you had people that were instrumental in helping you grow. Then, like, all the way along, God has put the right people in your path to help you grow in that season. And so the same thing is going to be true in any kind of disciple-making work. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to recognize that, first of all, it's not all on you, right? We are doing the work that God puts in front of us, and God is putting work in front of us all the time. So it's not all on you to do everything. You're going to play a part just like I play a part, just like the people who invested in me played a part, just like the people who invested in you played a part. Like, all of us have a part that we're going to play. It might not be the same part as anybody else, and it may or may not be according to your gifting, right? So I don't want to be in a situation where somebody says, "Oh, well, that's not really the thing I'm good at, so I'm not going to do it." No, we're all going to share, like from an evangelistic perspective, right? It is on all of us to share the good news, regardless of whether we think that's the thing we're best at or not. It's on all of us to encourage and help people move on. It's on all of us to do those things. But at any given point, you're probably only doing one of those things, right? So, so I hope that's helpful for answering Kevin's question. It's kind of a yes and or a yes both, kind of a both and answer to a really insightful question. But I'm hopeful this is helpful for you. And I know this video is longer than usual. Next week we have a short video. So if you made it to the end of this, thank you for this. And next week it'll be short but very meaningful. So I'm excited to. No. Next week is David Vaughn. I'm sorry. Next week is David Vaughn, and the week after that we've got a nice short video for you. So thank you guys. Have a great Monday, and I will look forward to talking with you this week. See you. Bye.